everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. Look, the episode ended on a very aggressive note. We're not as aggressive to begin with.
It was great. Yeah.
We break down the tournament, all the upsets, how the's
He's
no
a little
Cinderella
flustered right
Shut
now.
up. Just watch the episode. Kim Mulkey clearly did something. And Louisville will have a coach eventually, okay? We didn't want Dusty May anyway.
Gosh, this intro is going to be so weird because we were so calm at the start of the episode.
Yeah.
And then now we're just riled up.
Okay, let's get into the episode. Watch it. I'm doing
Like and
Burger.
subscribe.
That's Sam Roth.
Yeah, enjoy the episode.
All right, bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. Just want to address it now. The New York Times said that they're going to be releasing an investigative piece about us soon. And we just want to let everyone know that we are planning on suing for defamation if it comes out, because whatever it is false unless it's positive, in which case it's true. But if it's false, it's defamation.
Yeah, that's how defamation works. And sounds like we're pulling a book out of Kim Mulkey right here.
Yeah.
So for you all who don't know.
Kim Mulkey is actually one of our defense attorneys.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. Or I guess no, she would. We wouldn't be the defense.
Oh, no.
New York Times would be defense in this case.
Yeah.
She's one of our attorneys.
Oh,
She's the head of our legal team.
Gosh, we're screwed. Man,
She's a firecracker in the courtroom, let me tell you.
Absolutely. So for those of y'all who don't know on what we're talking about, Kim Mulkey has basically come out with her own statement threatening defamation against the Washington Post for basically an article that's going to come out later this week. We don't know the exact idea behind it, but
yeah, there's not really much about it.
But I'm very much looking forward to it now.
Look, if it's an investigative piece,
she's basically done
clearly not like a.
She's definitely
great.
She's definitely done the Streisand effect on this one, where it's just.
Yeah,
I was not aware of this piece until you said something.
I wasn't aware until.
I mean,
was like she sued, or she threatened to sue?
No. So basically, what was said in her statement, which was like a 1.5-minute long statement before their first tournament game against, I forget who they played, but
they played Rice.
So basically, she came out with a statement saying that former players had contacted her, and that they have received word of trying to say poor things about her in this quote unquote hit piece, is what she's calling it, and that they're not even asking for the full side of stories when it comes to certain things, and how there might be stories that are very one-sided within this post. Now, the Washington Post has also replied with their own statement from her saying, "Thank you for the free publicity. We're going to release it sometime this week after some more polishing and adding some additional details, but we may do it tomorrow now that everyone's interested in
Everyone's interest is peaked.
Yeah. Just to see if we can get ESPN to break it into games like they did for Cape Middleton. P.S. Our lawyers are bigger than yours."
Which is masterclass of a response right there.
Sure is.
I mean, they got Bezos money. Their lawyers are the biggest lawyers in the world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't release it that day because I forget when they played their first game, but it's been almost a week, so the anticipation is there for this piece.
Oh, yeah. Let it build, baby.
Absolutely.
Let it build.
But yeah,
just like Lil Wayne, let the beat build.
Crazy lady with a crazy response.
Yeah,
probably
devil.
doing crazy things.
Yeah, you know what? I'd read a hit piece on the devil.
Yeah,
I would.
Who wouldn't?
I would call it fair.
I mean, I will say there is definitely more storylines within the women's bracket this year than there are within the men's.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because, I mean, like, you have, will Caitlin Clark be able to win a national championship? Will South Carolina stay perfect? And then also, you also got, like, everyone hating on LSU's. That seems to be, like, the three consensus.
Did you see the elbow?
Yes, I did. Against
the one,
Middle Tennessee?
Yeah. I cannot believe she did not get thrown out of that game.
No, she didn't. It was considered a basketball play. It wasn't even a flag.
That is not a basketball play at all.
That's what it was called. Speaking of which, shout out to Middle Tennessee State for it completed an 18-point comeback against University of Louisville, which hurts for us because we're Louisville fans. It is the third largest comeback in the women's tournament history.
Tied with Louisville in 2021.
Yeah.
Is that not ridiculous?
I mean,
it's like the only upset basically
more or less
of the first round.
First round, yeah. I mean, second round there was Duke versus Ohio State, a 7
Duke,
versus
yeah,
2.
which I had Ohio State in my national championship. So
Did
that's
you?
pretty rough, yeah.
Oh.
I actually so for the men's side, last second, I changed it to put Dayton in my Final Four.
Oh,
and they almost blew it. First game, second game.
That game.
That was a great game, but
Nevada had a 99% chance of winning that game. Nevada basically blew that game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was.
And then the Arizona game was really good too. I don't know if you guys watch it, but
it was like a 10-point game.
It was a 10-point game, but there were times where Dayton had every single drop of momentum. They were just storming back. But
well, that's what happened with Texas A&M versus Houston. Texas A&M last night was down 10 points with 1:30 left and clawed back to force overtime. And then for a moment there, you thought that Houston might lose the game because 4 of their 5 starters fouled out. We're talking every single, like Francis fouled out, Emmanuel Sharp fouled out, L.J. Cryer fouled out, Jamal Shed fouled out.
Shed and Cryer are the big ones. Those are the offensive.
Yeah. Well, and Sharp,
go-to.
too. Sharp was hitting some shots that game. And then Francis is their big, dominant, big, down low, who gets 2 points a game and 7 blocks, it feels like. But yeah, A&M almost made probably the biggest upset of the tournament other than probably Oakland and Kentucky.
Yeah, let's talk about it, baby. Oakland and Kentucky. That game was glorious.
It was something. It was absolutely something. I mean,
I watched it basically from the beginning.
Yeah, Jack Golick was Golke is the definition of a 3-point specialist. I think we can confirm.
Yeah, he made more 3-pointers against Kentucky than he shot 2-pointers all season long.
Yeah, definition of a 3-point specialist.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. It's great.
And then you also had Yale with a big upset over Auburn is another big one.
But yeah, that was another big upset. Let's focus in on Kentucky, and then we'll go to the SEC first.
Sure.
Obviously, we know it here.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky fans have not been happy with Cal for a while.
Nope, they've got
for a while.
I would say since COVID.
Yeah, there were some people. I mean,
well, not since COVID, but like the losing has been started since COVID.
Yeah, basically. No, there have been, because it's such a big fan base, there have been people furious with Cal since like 2016.
Yeah.
You know? But those are like the craziest of the crazy fans. And then it really started going in COVID, like you said.
Right.
We had that terrible year where they won, I think, single-digit games.
I mean, basically, Kentucky has won, 2 tournament games since COVID, I believe?
Since COVID, they've won 1.
I thought it was 2, but I could be wrong.
They missed the tournament in 21.
But for a blue blood program, that is not acceptable.
Yeah. They missed the tournament in 2021. 2022, St. Peter's knocked them out first round.
Yep.
Last year, they won their first round game and then lost to Kansas State in the second round. And then this year they lost to Oakland.
Gotcha.
I think they're 2-6.
Yeah.
In their last.
Now there's an argument to be made that the way Cal has been doing this since 2010, which is quote unquote the one and done program, doesn't work anymore for the sole purpose of, because you got guys like Golick, I believe is how I say his name. Golke. He was in the same class as Tyler Hero. He is a 24-year-old super senior.
Look out, Jack Harlow's going to make a song called Jack Golke next.
I'm just saying, like, this guy has been in college for 6 years, all done properly. But, I mean, like, I don't know. There's something to be said about experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and then where Kentucky always lacks it in March.
The two teams that really, really, really went, like, all in on one and dones. Obviously, Kentucky first. Duke followed not that far in the footsteps.
In a way.
After them. But then, obviously, quicker than Kentucky. They're like, okay, we're not just going to get one and dones. We're going to try to retain some of these people. We're going to try to get in transfers. I don't think they do the transfer portal as much. But I mean, they still get a lot of 5-stars.
I mean, I will admit, with the whole transfer portal and how to change your team so drastically, I mean, we're seeing it now in different aspects. I mean, at least from a Louisville fan's perspective, Jeff Walls has kind of gone strictly towards one-and-dones and transfers, where it's rather than going after, like, top quality one-and-dones in the freshman market where they're going to go to the pros or whatever, you go for one-and-done super
and women's
seniors.
is different.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying necessarily, the game is definitely different. I'm just saying a comparison, because I know you have super seniors like DJ Burns for NC State, transferred there from as a junior, and then now he's a senior. Where did he transfer from?
I'm not sure. I didn't know he was a transfer.
Yeah, he's moved 3 different schools or so, but he's been one of the talking points of the tournament.
Yeah, but so with Cal, like, obviously it's outdated the way he's doing this. The way he's building rosters is outdated because they have talent. There's no shortage of talent.
So he signed with Tennessee,
Winthrop,
transferred to Winthrop,
yeah,
and then has played at NC State for 2 years now.
for good old Pat Kelsey.
Yeah, but what's crazy though is that DJ Burns was like one of the 3 top prospects in his class in 2018. So that would have been, I think that would have been, might have been Zion's class. But yeah,
I don't know. I think you're right. Actually.
But I'm just saying there's a different routes to get success in college.
Yeah, but I think clearly the one and done, going like putting all the eggs in all your eggs in the basket of one and done. Don't put them in the asses of one and done.
Put them in the ass.
But don't do that.
No.
No. Clearly it doesn't work anymore, and so I think he's got to adjust. The question is
it too late?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get fired.
Is this his? Okay, here's a question I want to pose. Do you think Coach Cal has coached his last game at Kentucky?
Personally, I don't.
I don't think so either.
He's not going to quit.
No.
His contract it's too good.
Actually, there's rumors that there's people willing to pay the buyout.
That doesn't mean it's not a good contract. That he's not going to quit.
Well, I believe the way it works, and the contract runs until 2029.
The contract is a lifetime contract, so it adds a year every single year.
No, it doesn't. It ends in 2029. That is not correct.
It's a lifetime contract.
No, it is not.
He signed a lifetime contract in 2015.
I'm telling you, it goes until 2029. The contract ends in 2029, and the way it works is that his buyout goes up by 5% every year of what he's owed for the remainder of those years.
He got a lifetime contract in 2015.
Right, and it goes until 2029. I guess the assumption is that in 2015 or whatever, that 2029 would be the time that he would be retiring. But the contract ends in 2029.
But the way a lifetime contract works is just re-ups 1 year every year.
I don't believe so.
That is what happens. He at that same school, that's what Mark Stoops got for a time, because it was stipulated in his contract if he won 7 games in football, then it would just add a year to his contract.
It ends in 2029.
It was a lifetime deal, though.
I'm telling you when the contract ends.
Okay.
I'm telling you it expires in 2029. And the way the buyout works, I believe it's up to 70% now or something like that.
75% something.
Right, and it goes up 5% every year until 2029 when it's like 100% basically. Or something to that effect. So basically, and he's owed that remaining money of what he's owed. So let's say, I don't know, he's making like 10, 12 million a year. I don't know. So
he's making like 8 point something.
So 8 million for whatever reason. 8 million. He has 5 years left, right? He's owed 75% of that. So do the math. 75% of 40 is what? 33?
Yeah, that's about it. 33, 34.
So basically he's owed 33 million. Next year it takes away a year, right? But then he's owed 80% or whatever of the 4 years left. So the percentage goes up, but the years go down. So there might be a balance there where it's like So like he's owed the $32 million, but it's 80% of 32. Right there, you cut off 8. So actually, in a weird way, the buyout's going to become less and less as the years progress.
Well, yeah, you know.
To where if you want to get rid of him, you either let him coach for $8 million or you pay him $8 million not to coach.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it boils down to. The problem is, does Kentucky want to do that? They can afford it.
Oh,
they can afford it.
They absolutely can.
Just going to take a lot of money.
It does bring up the question of, like, we are definitely delusional Louisville fans, because I'm starting to realize the candidates that I really wanted or desired are definitely not coming to Louisville, and
We'll
it's going
talk
to be
about
someone
that in a
else.
second.
But I do wonder for a UK team, or program, how much attraction that program is, and I would say it's very attractive. If
Yes.
not, so my question is like, obviously, like, Bill Self's never going to leave, and stuff like that. It's like, who wouldn't take the job, basically?
Oh, if Cal gets fired, it's Scott Drew. I'm dead serious. That's who it is. Scott Drew. Scott Drew is like best friends with Kentucky's athletic director. They are very close. They text a lot. I'm not joking either. That's a real thing. They are both the same religion. Religion is very, very important to Scott Drew. So it's Scott Drew. He's the Kentucky coach in waiting.
Okay.
So there's no doubt in my mind that if they do actually pull the trigger on Cal, which I don't think they will, I frankly I don't want them to. I want this to just get more and more toxic. I eat it up. It's delicious, but whenever it's time, because also in Cal's contract there is a clause that whenever he does assuming he doesn't get fired at Kentucky, whenever he does call it quits, he gets an administrative role in the athletic department for a salary of $1 million a year.
There you go.
Why would he quit that? Because when he's done with coaching, he's gonna be like, okay, I'll just get paid $1 million a year to have like a vanity title.
Right.
And so he's not gonna quit. I know that there are donors who are willing to put together some money to help do it. I don't know if it's enough. I'm not in the know enough about that situation to know if it is enough. Because I know A&M, with most programs, boosters pay buyouts.
Yeah.
Most programs, what happens. At A&M, the $75 million, 2 boosters paid that, which is nuts. How do 2 people have $75 million? I don't have that much. Do you?
One can dream.
One can dream, but boy, oh boy. I don't have that much, less, especially not to spare. That's just wild.
I mean, all I'm saying is, like, at these top programs, what we've come to realize is that buyouts are meaningless from a school's perspective. If there's enough fan turmoil who want the change to happen, it will happen.
Yeah. I mean, even Louisville got Kenny Payne's buyout paid.
$8 million,
right? Yeah. There are... Word around the athletic department is buyout for candidates. Hiring a new candidate, that's not an issue at all.
Right.
And so it's just a matter of, getting who they like. Kentucky, they have fewer buyouts on the books currently, and they, have more big money donors.
Yeah.
So a buyout is not an issue for Kentucky. It's whether they're going to pull the trigger. And I just don't think they will.
Well, I would have thought that it would have happened sooner rather than later. Later, because you have to give that coach time to prepare for the next season.
Well, I mean, you can still fire him a week from now and give him time to prepare for the season.
I mean, I would say by the time the tournament ends, you definitely want to be prepped and ready for the offseason and know who your coach is. Unless your coach is still in the tournament, that's the only reason why you haven't made a change.
Yeah, I know. Stuff happens.
But I mean, definitely by April, this time next month.
Yeah, it's
pretty set. If there's no change, then yeah.
So I mean, it feels like Kentucky's in limbo right now. Let's talk about the SEC.
Go for it.
In general, so we've missed a lot because we only do once a week. the first round plus the playing round of the tournament has happened since we last recorded.
And the second round.
Yeah, I meant to say first weekend.
Yeah.
So the Big 12 and the SEC both got 8 teams in. They were tied for the most bids for any league. They sucked. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. They sucked. Between the two conferences, where there were 16 total teams in between those two, there's only 4 left. There's Houston. There is, I can't think of the other Big 12 team. Iowa State. Houston, Iowa State, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's it. Those are the only teams that are left.
Yeah.
And so, meanwhile, the Big East is undefeated right now. They are 6-0. All 3 teams in their tournament have made it to the Sweet 16.
But also
the ACC.
But also all 3. I feel like that's like misrepresentation because all of them are favorited in all their games. They were supposed to win those games.
Kentucky was a big favorite.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
With the SEC, Texas A&M was the only team that was a lower seed.
Really?
Yeah. Texas A&M was the only team that was a lower seed in the first round. And they are one of 3 SEC teams that won in the first round. All those other SEC schools got upset. So it's not just that, the Big East, they were big favorites.
But they were.
They were big favorites, but that doesn't change the fact that upsets can happen and do happen and have happened to the SEC. Because A lot of them probably didn't deserve to get in the tournament. It's hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. I get it. And B, they were clearly overseeded. I said that before the tournament started. I said Kentucky was overseeded. I said Alabama was overseeded, even though they're in the Sweet 16. I still believe that.
Do you think Mississippi State was overseeded when they lost to Michigan State?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and in hindsight, clearly, because I don't think Michigan State deserved to be in the tournament.
Really?
I do not believe they deserve to be in the tournament. Yes, they had a higher ceiling than a lot of bubble teams, but they were just so inconsistent. And it's not like how Kentucky was inconsistent. Kentucky was inconsistent, but...
Well, do you also think that these teams were also just overseeded because of, bid stealers? So you had to put teams in on that 11 line and, the 12 line? You had to put in... the whole 11 line, basically.
Yes.
Is bid stealers, basically, who have gone on runs, basically. NC State, Duquesne, you had New Mexico, and you also had Oregon. And then you also had UAB on the 12 line, too.
Yeah,
who all had to
but
get in for bids.
I don't think... Seton Hall didn't make the tournament. St. John's didn't make the tournament. Indiana State. All 3 of them deserved to get in over a lot of schools, I think.
would agree with it.
To
an extent, yeah.
And clearly, and by the way, the ACC, do we just need to start, automatically giving them, 6 bids or something? It's the last 4 years. They just throw teams into the second weekend and beyond.
I don't know. I think the ACC... With the ACC, they really got it right, except for Virginia.
I agree. Virginia probably didn't deserve to be in.
Virginia didn't deserve to be in, but Virginia was the next best team in the ACC without a question, if you go off a resume. Now, if you go off of basketball and how they played in the eye test, God, no. But, they were beating the Wake Forests, and they were beating the NC States, and they were beating, I'm trying to think of any other bubble teams possible. Wake Forest is the only one that's a maybe for me in the ACC. Everyone else definitely deserved to be in, from Clemson to North Carolina to Duke to who's the other school that's in? I'm missing one.
NC State?
NC State. I mean, yeah. There's really only 3 notable ACC teams that deserve to be in.
I'm just saying, last year, one of the Final Four teams was Miami. 2 years ago, 2 of the Final Four teams were ACC schools. It was North Carolina and Duke, and Miami was in the Elite Eight. I don't remember what happened 3 years ago. But
good on ACC teams to be able to go on a run.
Consistently, they have not gotten a lot of teams in, and everyone has said, they haven't played well in the regular season. It's fine. Don't get them in. And then they all go on deep runs, basically.
Right.
I just feel I know you don't like to be they've done well in the past. Of course they should get in now. But it's the ACC just consistently is killing it. the Big East right now is killing it. You have to imagine that these bubble teams, like Seton Hall, beat Creighton, Marquette, and UConn this year. They beat all three of them. I guarantee you Seton Hall would have gotten one win, depending on the matchup. But I like Seton Hall. I think they got snubbed. I think St. John's. Pitino is a phenomenal coach.
Well, I mean, like, the whole argument there is, like, I definitely don't think Virginia should have gotten in.
I agree.
So, I mean, like, I would have put one of those Big East teams in. But Indiana State, it's unfortunate for them because basically they just couldn't win their conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't win one game.
Yeah. But I mean, it's Greg. So ultimately, Greg Sankey was just putting his thumb on the scale, trying to get as many SEC teams in as possible, and they sucked.
I think you're assuming he had way more influence than
he does.
you think.
He has a lot of influence.
I don't know, man. Because, I mean, like, you look at all these resumes, it's like, and you compare them to, like, the last four in, it's like, well, they're all better than the last four in as far as resumes go. I don't think there's an argument there.
Yeah, but Indiana State was like 27 in the net. Like, why have the net if you're not going to use it?
It is a good question.
I just think that I think it just goes back to my thinking that Greg Sankey has too much power.
I also
and people are just like assuming that, like, oh, he's an altruistic guy. He's looking out for best interest for the sport. He doesn't. He has the best interest of the SEC.
Well,
and the Big 12 also. I'm harping on the SEC, but the Big 12 did not do great either. I think they had more first round wins, but
I mean,
ultimately they didn't do great.
I mean, let's see, Texas. I'm trying to see how many upsets there were against Big 12. Baylor losing to Clemson's 1. I mean, TCU was an underdog.
Yeah.
You've had Texas Tech losing to NC State, so 2.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just a lot of hindsight is 20/20. I get that, but
I mean, there's only 2 upsets for the Big 12
happening,
from what I can tell.
My whole basis of this argument is when it keeps happening, obviously there is a reason.
I don't know. I think as far as like comparing the wins and losses to everything is a little skewed because there's only one winner in this tournament. There's only one winner that's going to come out of it. And so, like, the more teams you have, obviously, the more losses there's going to happen.
Or more wins.
Sure, in theory. But then it's also, like, where are the odds that, like, even though you have, like, 8 programs in, odds are none of them are going to win the championship.
I understand that, but...
And so it's like yeah, they went like 7 and 8, but then it's also like they're gonna have 8 losses because that's just the way the tournament works.
Not necessarily. If you set it up to
I
where...
mean, like, if you have 8 teams in, there's going to be 7 losses at a minimum. It's just the way it works.
At a minimum, yes.
It's just the way it works. And so when you look at a record of like 11 and 7,
but the difference is they're almost all first-round losses. And 75% of them lost in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
Only two of the 8 made it to the Sweet 16.
Right. And you basically cut down a field of 64 to 16. I mean, that's a drastic
I know,
cut.
but I'm saying when
that's
you
how
have
it works.
when you have that many in, when they're all favorites minus Texas A&M, they're supposed to win.
I'm just saying that's how the tournament works.
I know, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I'm saying it's a flawed argument because you're comparing records. Of course, they're going to have more losses because there's more teams.
Not necessarily. They could have all won. They could
Well,
all
like,
still be in the tournament. The
they-
Big East has not lost yet.
Yeah, but if they all win one game, right? Then they lose their next one. Then they're like 8 and 8, you know? And then they're 500 on tournament, and they're like, look, SEC sucks because they only have 500
But
wins.
Look,
see what I'm saying?
8 and 8 is different than what it is right now, which is like what's their record right now? 3. They're 5 and how many teams have lost?
I don't know.
6. They're 5 and 6 right now.
My point exactly.
No, because only 2 of them made it to the Sweet 16.
Right.
Only 3 of them won their first round. They were almost all higher seeds.
They have 1 out of 8, and you could argue that there's probably like 7 or 6 dominant conferences this year. It's probably statistically average.
If you say there's 7 or 6 dominant conferences, then there's no dominant conferences.
Well, I mean, like, as far as, like, you got, obviously, like, the Big East,
because if that's
Big
the
12,
case, if there's
SEC,
no dominant conferences, why
ACC.
did any team dominate the field, i.e. the SEC and the Big 12?
I mean, like, I think it's just averaged out, basically. I mean, you have Mountain West. You basically have everyone represented to an extent. It's what the tournament does.
Well, yeah, you have everyone represented. That's what automatic bids are for.
No, I mean, like, in the Sweet 16, I mean, like, as far as, like, the major conferences, there's no mid-major in the Sweet 16. There's no...
West Coast Conference.
Sort of, I guess.
I know it's Gonzaga, but...
I mean... It's Gonzaga or, like, Mountain West, you could say San Diego State, but the two teams have been basically ranked all year. It's not like we're surprised by their travels, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, when you have that many in and they drop immediately, it's not for no reason.
All I want to get at is this tournament from a third-party watcher. I don't know how else to say it, as a neutral in this, really. This tournament has been boring. All the favorites basically won in round 2 except for one.
I mean, you know.
And I'm like, where's the Cinderella? There's no slipper that fits this year. The biggest Cinderella is NC State, who was the ACC champion. And that's not really a true Cinderella in my opinion.
Sure, they had to win the ACC to get in.
Right.
Of course they're a Cinderella.
No.
They're America's Cinderella.
No, there's no such thing as America's
DJ
Cinderella.
Burns is my Cinderella.
America's Cinderella would have been from the last rounds would have been Yale, could have been Duquesne, could have been Oakland, could have been James Madison, could have been...
The Cinderella is just whoever's left.
Yeah.
And right now,
Grand
it's
Canyon.
NC State.
I mean, any one of those teams could have won. And I was like, yes, we got a Cinderella this year. There's not a single team that was like... Because let me put it this way. The 11 seed is usually the 10 seed, right? Because we had so many automatic bid stealers, the 12 got moved to 11 and the 11 got moved to the 10, and so all of them had to move up around.
Yeah,
That's basically what happened. So in reality, there's not really a true like big hardcore double digit seed doing it, because NC State probably should have been a 10 seed with their automatic bid.
12 seed.
Maybe.
Yeah, they should be a 12 seed.
Yeah. But I mean, like, come on. It's like...
So really, it's like a 12 seed doing this.
In a way.
You gotta root for the little guy.
I am rooting for them. I will admit that. But it's only begrudgingly because there's no other mid-major in the tournament.
I mean, yeah. I will say this. The closest to a mid-major school, because I think Gonzaga is a high major program in a mid-major to low-major conference.
Yeah.
The closest is San Diego State, which, let's be honest, everyone's rooting for against UConn.
Yeah.
And that's the national championship rematch. It's great. Fun. It's a lot of fun. Brian Dutcher deserves it, in my opinion. He's a great coach. He's been there for a while. He's paid his due. And it's fun to see, nice programs get their first championship. I was really rooting for San Diego State last year, but,
Yeah.
you can always get what you want.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about we talked about Virginia being trash. You know what? Real quick, I'll mention this. After their loss, where they were just abysmal, they almost didn't score for 1 hour of real time.
Yep.
Wild. Tony Bennett, that handsome man with his beautiful lips, spoke.
My mom loves him.
I'm sure she does.
She does. She loves a little bit of Tony Bennett. She says, "Isn't he so cute?" I was like,
He's just a clean-cut man.
it's hard to argue with that.
Also, apparently...
Tony Bennett ages like fine wine. I'll say it here now.
Yes. That's a Merlot I'd like to drink.
I'm
I'm just kidding. I'm in a committed relationship.
like Tony Bennett would want you anyway.
I'm
In your dreams.
a good-looking guy.
In your dreams.
I'm a good-looking guy.
Yeah, and I like to think I'm a good
I
looking
have
guy.
a nice smile.
But I ain't no Tony Bennett. None of us are any Tony Bennett.
Is it because of my big head?
Let me tell you, we could do a tier list. It's Sam and Derek, and then there's Tony Bennett, okay? We know we're not making it to the majors like him, okay?
I just think I don't think there's as big a gap between me and Tony Bennett as you're saying.
Oh, I'm gonna put you back on earth. I'm gonna humble you a little bit here, okay? There is.
Look, you're telling me this twink, this twink right here, isn't up in the same atmosphere as Tony Bennett?
Different planets, different moons.
Anyway, look, what Tony Bennett said is that he seriously needs to consider changing his system. Speaking, of course, about his offensive system.
Oh.
Because it's the most boring in all of college basketball.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do. Like, they for a long time were getting top-tier recruits.
Yeah.
And just the way it's, things have changed, they don't get those anymore.
Yeah.
Because they have never been a program they would get one-and-done type talent, but they were never there for a year. The soonest they would leave is after their sophomore year.
I mean,
it
the
was
most
never
recent one I can think
that.
of is like DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, but he redshirted.
Right, and then you also had guys who were really good shooters in that team in Ty Jerome and
Kyle Guy.
Are notable names.
Yeah, Brogdon was from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of people, but when you look into it, a lot of them left after their junior year.
It's kind of funny though, because that's the same team that won a national championship, but then also lost to UMBC.
Yeah, but I mean, the way they did things, it's basically the same team.
Yeah, more or less. But when Reese Beekman, no offense to Reese Beekman, hell of a player, it's just like there wasn't much talent around him.
And that's the thing is Tony Bennett has always been a guy that I don't care how good you are on offense. If you don't understand the defense, you are not playing. And so oftentimes he will not play younger guys because they don't get the defense yet, and the offense will suffer drastically.
Yep.
And so...
And we suffered watching that play-in game.
I didn't watch the whole thing. You kidding me?
I did.
No, I did not watch.
Well, let me put it this way.
I had stuff to do.
I was doing other things while I was on in the background at a certain point. It went from my primary focus to definitely
a tertiary.
Let's look and see what that score is. Oh, it's 20. Yikes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's terrible. It was very, very bad. And good on him for changing it.
Well, we'll see if he changes it.
Coaches have said I need to reevaluate my system, and then just never do. Yeah. They're clearly just throwing it out there for
stuck
fan
in their
fodder.
Ways. Yeah.
I don't know. I as a non-Virginia fan, I feel optimistic that he'll change it.
Time will tell.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a bit it on Virginia. I mean, what's next?
Just some
coaching hires. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got some coaching hires, more or less.
Yep. Well, the big one, of course, is
Dusty May.
Florida
Atlantic's Dusty May.
Not what. Let's be honest. I think not what. I would say 95% of people are thinking.
It was a great hire, though.
It does look like a good hire, yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, since we're not saying the whole thing, Dusty May has agreed to a deal to become the next head coach at the University of Michigan, replacing Juwan Howard.
Yes.
Dusty May, obviously, not this year, but last year, made a Final Four run with an FAU team, with the exact same team this year. It was a second round exit.
The exact same team.
First round exit. I mean, good on him for being able to make that run and turning it into another coaching opportunity. As far as consistent mid-majors go, I think he's established FAU as that, being able to consistently lead the American recently.
I mean, this is their only year in that conference. I think they were going to fall off a cliff.
What was last year?
They were Conference USA.
Oh, Conference USA. My apologies. Well,
and even before then, they kind of just popped off last year.
Yeah.
They always had winning records with him, but...
He was definitely a name around the Louisville job. He was definitely linked to the Ohio State job.
Yeah. Ohio State made him their primary focus when they got word that maybe he's not number one on their list with Louisville and Michigan opening. They just went out and got Jake Debo to try and not get embarrassed. And then when Louisville didn't get Scott Drew, they said, all right, we're going to zero in on Dusty May. And then Dusty May chose Michigan, which, if you were Louisville, let's be honest, it's a bit embarrassing.
A little bit, yeah. But it also, I think, makes a little sense.
So when I say what I'm about to say, I am just sharing my opinion.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not trying to be like, well, I never wanted him anyway. I just want to preface it with that. Jeff Goodman reported the reason that he took Michigan over Louisville and was also considering Vandy over Louisville. Did you know that one?
No.
Vandy was in the mix.
How about that?
Yeah. The reason he did that ultimately is because Michigan is a football school and he doesn't want to be in the spotlight.
I don't want him anyway.
Right?
I don't
Doesn't
want
that
him
no?
anyway.
I know it sounds like, it sounds like sour grapes.
Well, if you want to be secondary, where's the ambition? Where's the drive?
That's the problem. At a school like Louisville, you kind of need that, like, I'm the show. You have to want to be the show. And he clearly didn't want to be the show. And that's a red flag for Louisville. I mean, the last two coaches at Louisville didn't like the media at all. They didn't like dealing with it. And it was a disaster. Kenny Payne was a disaster for other reasons, but, it tore down Chris Mack. I mean, it broke him down a little bit. And so the way I look at it is I do think we dodged a bullet. I think he's a solid coach. Trust me, he's a solid coach. Which, by the way, Michigan said that they're going to loosen some of their academic requirements when it comes to student athletes to make it easier for him to recruit. Something they didn't do for Juwan Howard. Why? Why'd you not do that for Juwan Howard? That doesn't make any sense. But it's neither here nor there. Well, it's a good hire for Michigan. I think.
I think it works out well for them.
Look, time will tell. Just like with Tony Bennett, that beautiful man. Time will tell if Dusty May is the real deal or if he is a guy that
was a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, honestly, because last year was the first time that he made the tournament. I understand that FAU is an impossible job. That is an impossible task of a job.
Yep.
And he had 6 straight winning seasons when they had previously only had 5 winning seasons ever. So there's a lot of stuff there to like about Dusty May. There's also some stuff to be weary about with him, but Michigan probably was the right choice for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, where that leaves Louisville is basically in a state of panic.
Yeah, considering that when I hear names of Shaheen Holloway from Seton Hall, and I hear names of the USF coach, and I'm also hearing names of who's the other one I heard? Charleston's coach,
Pat Kelsey.
Pat
Don't
Kelsey.
give me Pat Kelsey.
Those were the 3 that were floated around there.
Also,
it is like Shaheen Holloway is the best one, but then would Shaheen Holloway even pick Louisville over staying at Seton Hall because he played at Seton Hall? He, as a recruit, chose Seton Hall over UConn and Duke.
And Duke, yeah.
So it's like
only player, I guess, at that time. I don't know if it's happened since, but at the time of his committing to Seton Hall, he's the only player to visit Duke twice and not commit.
Well, so I think from that standpoint, it seems like Seton Hall loves Shaheen Holloway. Shaheen Holloway loves Seton Hall.
I mean, he's a New York guy.
I don't see him leaving there.
I could.
Well, it's in my personal opinion, it's like Braun with Louisville. It's like, are there better jobs out there? Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a good comparison.
Do I see him leaving? I mean, it's your hometown school. It's your school basically. I gotta imagine it's a dream job for him, and to bring that team into the spotlight. And it's not like he couldn't build something that Dan Hurley hasn't built at UConn or anything like that. Same conference.
The difference, though, is I'll throw out 2 more names that I have heard. Jamie Dixon at TCU and Buzz Williams, Texas A&M's coach. Buzz Williams is an interesting one to me because he's a guy that doesn't like to stay anywhere more than like 6-ish years. He likes to bounce around, but he's a good coach. He's won everywhere he's gone. And so if you're looking for like a bridge coach, I think Buzz Williams is not a bad choice. Like if you're looking for a guy to, take the program out of the hole, rebuild it a little bit, and then bounce and then see what other better options are out there, Buzz Williams is not a bad choice.
No.
If you're looking for someone who's in it for the long haul, I think you go after someone like Shaheen Holloway. I like Shaheen Holloway. I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
I think he's a very personable guy. The way I look at him is very similar to someone like Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson, just tough defenses.
It is funny.
And he just...
I have delusional fans who are like, go get Kelvin Sampson. His buyout's only $2 million.
Kelvin Sampson's not going anywhere.
And I was like, Kelvin Sampson's been there longer than you've been alive.
What?
He's been at like Houston for like 20 years.
No, he has not.
I thought he has.
No, he got fired from Indiana in the 2010s, I think. No, 2000s. I take it back, not 2010s. By the way, he got fired at Indiana for stupid reasons. It was not for performance. He got fired at Indiana because he was texting recruits.
2014.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Do you know
he
that?
got fired? No, he got fired from Indiana in 2008.
Stupid, and he was good at Indiana. If he would have stayed in Indiana, they would be a powerhouse right now again.
Dang.
But anyway,
wow.
No, just the way I look at Shaheen Holloway is a guy that is going to coach defense, hard-nosed defense, tough defense, and then as you establish that reputation, maybe if you are able to improve the recruiting, then the offense comes with it. I think it's easier to say, oh, offense will come with better players for a coach that coaches good defense than it is to say defense will come with better players for a coach that coaches really good offense.
I think defense is coaching and effort.
I think so too.
That's my firm belief on it. It's if you watch Houston, it's a ton of effort. It's great coaching of just defense is the mental side of the game, where in my opinion,
offense is more skill.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, there are certain guys where the skill gap on offense, but if you got a guy who's hustling and can stay in front of someone, because that's basically what defense is being able to stay in front, knowing what you're doing on pick and rolls, on picks basically. Are you switching it? Are you going over top? Are you hedging it? Are you getting help side?
Yeah.
If you know, if all five guys are on the same page on defense, defenses can be very successful. It only takes one guy to be off to give up a basket.
Yeah.
Now, as far as offense goes, you could just give the ball to one guy and spread out the floor and let him work.
Yeah, I mean, in college,
it's drastically different because there's not a ton of talent in college.
Yeah,
there is talent.
You have to have
just
some sort of
talent.
offensive system in college, but yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, where that leads with Louisville Surge, basically, to sum this up real quick, is I think it's either Shaheen Holloway or Buzz Williams.
One can dream of Shaka Smart.
I think Shaka Smart has not been linked to any jobs. I think
he has an extension.
I think either he or his agent has let it be known
they're not interested.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. And so he hasn't signed an extension this year because he signed one last year.
Yeah.
I think Shaka Smart's not going anywhere because he's also a Wisconsin guy. So I think he loves it there at Marquette. I don't know the guy. Just from what I believe.
Milwaukee sucks. Why are you still there?
I've never been. But yeah, I think it's going to be Shaheen Holloway or Buzz Williams. Anyone but Pat Kelsey. I'm very anti-Pat Kelsey.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to other. This is something that happened in the interim, between episodes filming. But SMU fired their coach.
Really?
Yeah, after the first round NIT loss.
Ooh.
Ridiculous firing in my mind.
It's interesting.
He improved 10 wins upon the season before.
Apparently
10 wins better, and they fired him. I know they were bad down the stretch. They lost 6 of 7. 6 of their last 7. But
do you also just think it's like new conference?
That's what they said it was. They said because they're moving to the ACC, a historically great basketball conference, they're trying to meet the level and expectation of the ACC. And so they wanted to go out. Basically, they're trying to make a big name splashy hire.
Yeah.
And two names that have been floated.
SMU's the one that has the money.
They have a ton of money.
They have
They're not taking money for 7 years because the booster's just going to pay for all of the athletic cost.
Yeah.
Which is absurd.
They've got a ton of money down there. Texas oil is different. Anyway.
So, you ready for the two names that have been floated that I've heard? One of them is more realistic than the other.
Go for it.
And I think, honestly, they're going to get one of them. Eric Musselman.
What?
I think.
Arkansas?
Yeah.
Okay.
John Calipari.
If they get either of those, that's fantastic hires for either. For a program or quality of SMU,
Mm-hmm.
those are well-established names.
Yeah, but I think they're going to get Musselman.
I mean, if they can get Musselman, that is a hell of a hire.
I think that's what's going to happen. So that's something to watch out because they are trying to make a splashy hire. They're not trying to make the best hire or the smart hire. They're trying to make the splashiest hire.
Calipari needs to get fired first. That's the only way he's leaving. He's not leaving that contract.
No, because if he takes another job without getting fired,
no buyout.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not leaving. He has to get fired. So it's basically contingent on Kentucky moving on from him. And I mean, like, as much as I don't like the guy, it's like he's able to do some things with recruiting and other aspects that.
Yeah, well, he has the reputation.
No other. Oh yeah, he definitely.
He has the reputation of play for me, you'll go to the NBA.
Yeah. What recruit wouldn't sign that contract?
Yeah, but
that national letter of intent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's SMU's situation. The other one, this one happened not that long before we started recording.
About an hour ago.
Yeah,
2 hours ago, maybe.
Probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago at this point. Yeah. Stanford, who fired their coach,
and is going to the ACC as well.
Yeah, their coach looked like a nice guy.
I couldn't tell you. I didn't watch the Stanford.
He looked like a very nice guy. He wore. I might be biased, but he wore glasses. He was tall. I like most basketball coaches. Let's be honest.
No, do you know? Gosh, they have a whistle and a clipboard. You just come running towards them, don't you? You just love them so much.
That was a lot of words.
I tried.
I know. Anyway, I think they made a great hire in Washington State's coach Kyle Smith.
Yeah. Took a program that was not relevant this year and turned it into a tournament team.
Last time they were relevant. You know, Jesus Christ, my stomach. I got to quit eating before this. It's just digesting all this food, all this broccoli and fish. It was a good lunch, though. Anyway, do you know who the coach was the last time they were really good?
Stanford?
No, Washington State.
Can't say.
We talked about him today.
We did?
We sure did.
I don't know. Dusty May.
No.
I don't know, Wes.
I'll give you a hint. The player that helped them be really good was Klay Thompson.
That doesn't help at all.
Doesn't help?
No, because I didn't know Klay Thompson went to WashU.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Tony Bennett.
Oh, how about that?
Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett he took them to, I think, 2 straight Sweet 16s.
How about that?
Of course, with Klay Thompson, you know, but still. So, it's not an easy job. The last time they were good was a long time ago with Tony Bennett, a guy who's been at Virginia for a long time. So, Kyle Smith did a great job. I think it's a good hire by Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I think he likes the West Coast, considering he's staying out there.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, Stanford is technically geographically located on the west, but then it's also like they're going to be playing a lot of games in Eastern time.
Yeah, but he's going to be living.
Yeah.
In
I do wonder with the whole expansions of conferences and basically geographically it doesn't matter anymore on how that's going to work with these teams coming to the Big Ten and the ACC and the likes, because at least with like the SEC expansion, they just kind of moved a couple states over.
Yeah.
Whereas you got California teams now having to go play all the way in New York. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Or vice versa.
You know, a Texas team having to go up to Massachusetts.
Yeah. I mean, you literally got Stanford having to play Syracuse, or you've got you've got USC having to go play Rutgers.
Yes. But I don't know. I mean, you're obviously going to spend more time where your school is located.
Yeah. 1,000%.
And if you like it out there, why not?
I'm interested to see how those schedules will work for basketball mainly.
Yep. How's your bracket doing?
Dog water.
Yeah, mine too.
I decided to have Cinderellas, and there is no Cinderellas this year.
Yeah.
I made the pick that Gonzaga or McNeese State was going to make the Elite Eight, so I went fun with it. I picked McNeese State.
Yeah.
And then I also was like, you know what? Drake's a fun school. Let's have them beat Iowa State. Sweet 16, Drake. No, they didn't get past Washington.
Yeah.
So
I had said it. I told you I did not like. I know I'm harping on Indiana State should have made the tournament. I don't think Indiana State or Drake were that good. I really just don't. Like, I watched them play this year.
I mean, historically speaking, it was like I was trying to find like teams that were like McNeese was a long shot because they're from historically a Southland conference that's really bad. But I was like, who are like the mid-major schools that are like, or in like a good conference? Like I'm thinking the A-10. I was thinking like
that was my reasoning with Dayton.
I was thinking Missouri Valley. I was like, who's there that's like gonna ruffle up some feathers, you know? And I was just like, all right, I'm going Drake because it's like the middle tier where it's like they can make a run. It's not like
not a deep run, but it's a run.
I mean, it's not like no offense to Grand Canyon, but it's not like one of those conferences where it's like they're just known for winning a game and that's it.
Yeah.
So it was like I was trying to do that with my bracket. Also, it's like no one or two seeds. Not all of them make it past the first round, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna really believe in the ones this year. Let's sprinkle in some twos. Moving on. Nope. Every 1 and 2 made it to the Sweet 16 this year.
Yep.
And only 1 3 seed didn't make it. Creighton and Baylor didn't make it. No, Kentucky and Baylor didn't make it. Illinois and Creighton made it. So it's like, as far as like the top seeds go, it's only out of the top 12 seeds, only 2 of them didn't make it to Sweet 16.
So let me.
And then the 5 seeds, I thought some of them were better. Like I really like Gonzaga over Kansas, so like I wasn't surprised by that. Surprised Auburn lost to Yale, but I thought the San Diego State matchup might have been close. And then you had St. Mary's losing, and then you had Alabama. Either one of those, good matchup. And then the last 4 and 5 is Duke and Wisconsin, and I didn't really believe in Wisconsin.
So let me give you a fun little stat.
Go for it.
One that I used when determining my reasoning for putting Dayton in the Final Four.
I mean, I still got my Final Four intact.
I changed it from UNC to Dayton.
Mine is UConn, Houston, Creighton, and Arizona.
So I think every year out of the last 10 years except for one, there has been one team in the Final Four who is a 7 seed or higher.
And you thought
it's kind of crazy to think about, right?
And you thought Dayton was the best 7.
I thought they had the best chance. I just thought that particular bracket had the best chance of just blowing up. Yeah. That was not necessarily they were the best 7, that they had because I thought, honestly, I still think that Nevada was better than them.
Yeah.
I just think I just had them going through, and then I'm not that high on Arizona. I like North Carolina a lot, but I picked them to get upset.
Got a ton of talent.
Oh, they have a ton of talent. I'm still not super high on them.
I think if Arizona figures it out, they're definitely a Final Four team. Which I hope I'm right, because.
So, the only seed 7 or higher currently in the Sweet 16 is NC State.
Yeah.
So if the trend is going to continue, NC State's got to go on just a wild run.
To be fair, we've already mentioned this last week. The last team to win 5 games in 5 days in their conference tournament was 2011 UConn. And what did they do? They won it all.
They won it all.
Now,
and look, NC State's no stranger to being Cinderella. You know, Jimmy V, baby.
Yeah.
They won it all against Phi Slamma Jamma.
Yep. all the way down.
And that could
in
be a
New
rematch.
Mexico.
That could be a rematch
Oh,
if they beat
another
Marquette.
thing, just to add to it, the Final Four is also in the
Arizona.
Southwest this year, so an adjacent state, if you will.
One of the four corners, I believe. Am I right about that, or am I
I don't
wrong?
know. I'll take your word on it, though.
I think I am.
New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the four corner states.
How about that?
So, basically, the only hope is NC State.
I will definitely be cheering for them.
But yeah, all right. Well,
I'm kind of just stuck.
I mean, I guess let's
there's-
do a revisionist history bracket from here on out.
Okay.
Would you? What do you think? Like, who you still got UConn?
Yeah, still got UConn. As far as so historically speaking, I like to look at teams based off of how they've done for the first two games, and see the point differential, and see if they played any games close. That's how I kind of gauge it.
I will say Alabama very, very handily won their first two games last year, lost in the Sweet 16
Right. So
to none other than San Diego State.
So I mean, San Diego State had a close one against UAB. I mean, UConn's just rolling. Houston had a scare against A&M in overtime. I mean, Duke is rolling right now. So I think the Duke-Houston game will be closer than what a lot of people think.
Maybe I'm just not into Shire. I'm just not.
I think it'll be a close game. I think Duke's got a decent enough offense.
They've got the talent for sure.
So I really do struggle with Houston's offense. I really do think if you eliminate Cryer and Sharp, I mean, Jamal Shed does a lot on defense, and so it's asking a lot of him to go and get 15, 16, 17 points and be the defensive.
Not impossible in college.
No,
Play
Marquette.
fewer minutes, there's fewer games.
I think Marquette. I think this whole south side of the bracket will be close. Illinois is dogging teams. Granted, they've only played the highest seed as an 11th seed. I mean,
Yeah.
I really was looking forward to see how
Morehead
BYU
State was very close in the first half against Illinois.
Right. I mean,
Illinois doesn't play defense.
no, they really don't.
That's the thing. Illinois doesn't play any defense. Iowa State, their offense can struggle at times.
And they're really good at defense.
Yes, that's gonna be
I think it'd be fun to watch.
It's going to be a fun game, but I
Two
think
polar opposites.
whoever wins that game is going to lose the next round. I don't care if UConn or San Diego State win. I don't have them going to the Final Four.
In a weird way, I kind of like the matchup of Alabama versus North Carolina for Alabama, but it's also one of those where it's it really just comes down to, and I know this sounds dumb, but it's who can outscore who, because you know what I mean?
No, it's because of the way Alabama plays. That's
Right.
it's not dumb to say with Alabama.
But yeah,
I just think North Carolina plays defense. Not only can they keep up with the scoring pace, they play defense. They've had a good defense this year. And Alabama does not play a lick of defense.
Gonzaga versus Purdue, it's going to come down to if Graham Ike can stay out of foul trouble. Ike, my Graham Ike. But if it's if Ike can
And that's
stay
going to
out
be tough against Purdue because they
Right.
call everything on their opponents.
Right, so if Ike can stay out of foul trouble, because I really don't believe in their backup center and Brandon Huff.
No.
Tennessee Creighton, Tennessee is meh, but then Creighton's hasn't really played two stellar teams. I felt like Creighton had a really easy path to get here. So it's
Yeah.
I didn't really believe in South Carolina. I picked, and then Oregon, it was just lucky to be in the tournament.
Snuck in.
So it's I think this will be quote unquote Creighton's first true test of the tournament.
Tennessee looked fantastic in their first game. They started to look really good against Texas, and then Texas just clawed their way back into that thing.
Right. I don't know if I had to give.
That could go either way. I have that matchup in my bracket, and I picked Creighton.
Yeah, I picked Creighton too. I have Creighton and McNeese, or Gonzaga, if you will, because I truly believe Gonzaga is the team that could beat Purdue because they're getting hot at the right time. I mean, that is one thing to say about Gonzaga is that they are steamrolling teams.
Yeah, I mean McNeese. I didn't know this before I picked him. I might not have picked him had I not known this, or had I known this beforehand. They only played two teams ranked in the top 100 in the net all regular season. And
So
I
they
think
haven't
when they
really
met
been
Gonzaga,
tested.
they got punched in the mouth and had no clue what hit them.
So what's interesting is I watched the Gonzaga-Kansas game.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga was getting everything they wanted in the second half. They were not missing a shot, basically. It was very impressive to watch, and they seemed to be getting hot and getting the offense flowing, which I thought was pretty stagnant throughout the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was a Kansas team without
There's
their best player in Kevin McCullers.
extremely depleted.
Well, just Kevin McCullers. Hunter Dickinson was back.
Yeah, but he was still hurt.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He was close to 100%. It looked like, but he was still hurt.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to. So, like, my favorite matchups probably are Alabama, North Carolina, Gonzaga, Purdue. I really like the NC State Marquette matchup.
I'm excited for UConn, San Diego State.
I think that's a blowout.
I'm excited to see if
I don't
anyone
think it's
can
close. I don't
stay
think
close.
I don't think it'll be close. Duke, Houston will hopefully be interesting.
I'm interested with the Clemson-Arizona game.
I'm really not. I really think Arizona's got way too much talent.
I
and
just
think,
don't trust Arizona.
Well, also, I just think Clemson's lucky to be there.
They beat Baylor.
Once again, Baylor is the same idea as like Kentucky. It's a very good offensive team with no defense. So it's one of those where it's like this was probably the ceiling for Baylor was a Sweet 16 run, in my opinion.
Baylor could have beaten Arizona.
Honestly, I feel more scary about Arizona playing Dayton than I do Clemson. So,
well, I mean, it's the tournament. Anything can happen.
oh, absolutely, anything can happen, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like Arizona. I have them in the Final Four. I haven't beaten North Carolina.
If you had to pick your Final Four now,
I'm still sticking with what I had. It's Houston, Creighton, Arizona, UConn.
that's unfortunately
That's my Final Four that I have.
I'm sticking
in my
with my original Final Four before I changed it, which is UConn, Houston, Creighton, and North Carolina.
Oh, so we basically have 3 of the 4.
Yeah, we're very similar.
Well, I mean, like
I could see Tennessee going all the way, actually, and Purdue. Purdue has looked good.
Very good.
Purdue has looked good.
I still have the stigma against Purdue.
Yeah, but man, they destroyed Utah State.
It might just not be that surprising. We're all like, oh, trying to find the edge in our bracket, and it's like, well, there's 3 teams this whole season that have been dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be surprising if those 3 teams make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where it's like,
Purdue has looked stupid. Good.
Do you just overthink it? You know, where you're like, well,
I think right now I am.
Right.
With Purdue, I am.
I mean, like Purdue's definitely they walked down Utah State and Grambling State.
This could be a year where there's 4 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Definitely possible. And it would be a really good Final Four because those would be probably the 4 teams that I would like to see play each other. I mean, I definitely want to see Houston versus UConn. I want to see UConn versus Purdue. I want to see Houston
I'd like to see
versus
San Diego
Purdue.
State back in Final Four.
I mean, as far as like, let me put it this way: as far as who I'm cheering for and want to see, well, not want to see. As far as who I'm cheering for and then who I want to see play each other, just because I think it'd be great matchups. Like, how does Edey perform against a dominant Houston defense? Or if Houston even gets past to the final, how does a top offense in UConn, who gets everything that they want, versus a top defense in Houston do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan Hurley is one that always tries to find motivation for his team. He's came out with comments saying, we saw what the committee did. The committee put two former Final Four teams against us in FAU and San Diego State. Also put conference champions in Auburn, Illinois, and Iowa State in there. We see what they do. They don't want us there next year. And then there was something else that came out about the San Diego State game where he's like, great, more motivation. I can tell the team that. So I think he's just one of those coaches that's insane and just trying
he is insane, yeah.
And trying to find little bits of information to just, it's us against the world mentality.
Yeah. I think Danny Hurley is the best coach right now in college basketball.
I think there's a question.
I don't even think UConn has to win it all this year. I think they just have to go back to the Final Four. They will become the new powerhouse for however many years. Because Danny Hurley's that good a coach. He's that insane and driven. And UConn's already a blue blood.
And then Derek will finally call them a blue blood.
I've been calling them a blue blood. They're just, I don't think they're above Louisville or Indiana. I don't. There's too much recency bias going on in your mind. Do we have anything else to talk about?
Agree to disagree.
Do we have anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a great way to end the show.
I still think Houston's got it. I think Texas A&M honestly had the best chance to beat them before the Final Four, and they got past that.
Yeah.
So I still like Houston, UConn, and Purdue. They look like buzzsaws. So it's great. It's great. We need a year where there's just dominant one seeds.
Yeah.
After last year was fun. I loved the chaos of last year.
I
But
wanted more chaos. Well,
all right, I think that's it for us.
That is our show. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We'll
Thanks
see
for
you
watching.
next
If you
time.
made it this far, like and subscribe.
That too.